Morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning again. Thank you very much. Today we are on financial exchange, means we're going to talk more about financial knowledge and things like that. And based on the previous session of the Wednesday session, the lawyer was good. The content was okay, but a lot of you find that it's too packed. Within 30 minutes, that things can't be just complete, explained to you. So the learning is a bit difficult. So today we have a speaker, Kelvin, which I'll do more introduction on him later, that we actually break down it to something more bite-sized so that easy for you to learn. So for today, very simple. We are just talking about AUM financing, asset under management. That's what a lot of people commonly known as pledging, unpledging. Yep. Okay, so over here, maybe I would just like to say one thing. We like to make things simple for everybody. Over the times, over the years, you hear a lot of things about finance, okay, creative financing methods, so on and so forth. Every time, many of you, maybe you're like me, the moment I hear finance, I'm be very worried, very scared because I'm not good at numbers. So when I hear numbers, I'm just like, wow, what am I going to do with it? So actually, I'll just like to tell you, if possible, please just remember there are only 4 things that you need to learn by heart, okay? Number 1 is mortgage financing. What is mortgage financing? Basically, there are 4 unknowns that you need to find out. Loan tenure, loan content, interest rate, and monthly mortgage. That's how much you're going to pay. Basically, because I have no money to pay something full cash, buy a property with full cash. That's why I need to borrow money from someone else, raising funds from the bank, from the institution to pay for my property. And then I will return them in monthly payment. Okay, so basically, mortgage financing, you need to know. Okay, but it's not difficult because nowadays all the calculator is ready, and in fact, Orangey we have our own finance calculator as well. So 4 things: loan tenure, loan content, interest, and monthly mortgage. Out of 4 unknowns, you know 3, you know the other one. That's it. Yeah. So number 2 things you need to know is about equity term loan. Okay, in some of your language, okay, or in some of everybody's language, is that what is term loan, equity loan? Okay, basically, it is for asset rich but no cash on hand customers. Okay, over here I'm talking about fully paid properties and or close to fully paid properties. Over the years, there are some handsome or significant property appreciation. Okay, that's when you can use your property to gear up. Okay, that's another word for it. Gear up your property, your assets to get money out of it, to get cash out of it. Okay, that's called equity term loan. Number 3, AUM financing is what we are going to touch on today, is how to derive income stream derived from eligible financial assets. For example, if I'm a foreigner, can I borrow money in Singapore? My income overseas can be used. Or let's say I'm an old man, not old man, okay, I'm someone with a lot of assets. I have stocks, I have a property, I have everything, but I have no money, I have no cash. So that means you cannot prove that I have income. So how to use that as an income stream derived from your financial assets? All right, and then last portion is fractional purchase. Okay, fractional purchase means what simple terms is about decoupling. Okay, but if you were to check the word decoupling on Google, right, as of now, nobody will openly talk about decoupling, but rather it's a fractional purchase. Okay, it's more like a property portfolio rearrangement where, for example, husband and wife can together plan their assets together and then to do a portfolio arrangement. But this one we'll talk about in future. So in today, we are only talking about AUM financing. There's a question that is taught by Ryan Chiu from Citibank. Is this the same talk? No, I think you are at the wrong place, Doreen. Today, our speaker is actually Kelvin Lee from Untitled Chapter. Okay, so that shall start to introduce our speaker today. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so I knew Kelvin about 2 years ago only, and it's a hidden gem that I found out. Yeah, I'm so happy that I know Kelvin. He was working with OCBC for the past 19 years before he decided to come up to do something on his own. So now he's a mortgage specialist with Unpledged Capital as a family setup office back in 2018. That's when he quit OCBC. Yeah, and then to more about it, I think I will leave it to Kelvin to talk about is Unpledged capital. So without further ado, this is the content for today. Recap on some of the financial terms, AUM financing, and then we go straight to Q&A already. Now, can I put our hands together? Let's welcome Kelvin. Kelvin, do you mind to on your video and on your mic, and then stage is all yours. Thanks.
Okay. Hi. Morning. Thanks, Jen. We have only about half an hour. By the way, my name is Kelvin. We only got about half an hour to actually cover this financial asset training, AUM financing, since it's put that way. But we'll run through some of it, but I'll focus really on a financial assets point of view. The rest of it, I think most of you guys will know already as it is. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see whether can I get this. Okay. I think I can do it, right? Yeah.
Okay. I pass the remote control to you already. Thanks, Kelvin.
Okay. The remote macam a bit weird, but never mind. This is the second slide, right, Jen?
Yes. Or you just say next, I'll click next for you.
Oh, okay, will do. Can we just hang on this one first lah. Basically, we'll just cover this AUM financing or what we call as eligible financial assets. We'll focus more on it. But the rest of the slides later on, most of it are just a refresher. I'll spend less than 5 minutes on those. Okay, next. Yeah. Now, this is just a glimpse of interest rates that the banks are having, but actually the rates are actually very outdated, I would say, because since the time when I set up this slide till now, rates have dropped quite a bit. In fact, OCBC, if you're aware, had also introduced a new package called the SORA, but I'll leave it for another day because that one is a bit more complex. Maybank have also dropped their rates. DBS is still at 1.5, UOB 145 is still there. But like I've said, this is just a glimpse of interest rate that you guys can actually tell your customers. All right. If they don't refinance, if they don't re-look into their packages actively, well, you are just giving the banks extra money to earn. Okay. Next. Right. So, like I've said, repackaging is very important. If you don't refinance, like I've said, very, very common to see customers servicing a mortgage rate of at least about 3.5 to 4.5. Well, there's a batch of customers who actually is currently, I don't think they'll leave the banks because they are under the SIBOR package. Maybe they have taken up maybe about a year or so ago, where SIBOR is still a little bit high, but the markup is still very low. Right now, is this group of customers should be enjoying interest rate, effective interest rate of about less than 1%, 0.7 to 0.8%. But many customers are still stuck at this 3.5 to 4.5% interest rate, right? So my role is actually to help customers to identify which are the loans that are suitable to them, which one is more appropriate for them to sign up, and are they paying too much? End of day is if you don't manage your mortgages, well, the mortgage will actually manage you. So you just pay dearly for such a mistake. All right, next. Okay, I'll run through this one at another point in time. But briefly, if you look at it, for interest rate, current interest rate of 2.5% for customers who are still servicing their loan, they will be paying an installment of about, let's see, hold on, about 10,000. Okay, about 10,000 here, all right, versus 9,006. But if you look at the interest savings, you'll be looking at about 8,336 just for the first year alone. Okay, just for first year alone. Second year, you're looking at about 7,666 down here. Well, all in, you're looking about 15,000 over the course of 2 years for interest difference of 1%, 2.5% versus 1.5% for a loan amount of 2 million and loan tenure of 20 years. You can see that much of interest. So if you're willing to pay for this, you're willing to pay this money, fine. I mean, the bank will say a thank you to you. But if you want to save more money, this is what you got to do. Repackage your housing loan, change it to the current interest rate of about 1.5 or lesser. All right, next. So purchase, what we'll cover, okay, I will really cover just what you call that, your TDSR. There's some coverage on your stamp duty, okay, and we'll look at this income as well. Okay, next. Now LTV, if you guys would have by now, you guys should know what's the loan to value for most customers. Like for example, first house is actually maximum loan of up to 75%. Second unit, well, is up to 45%. Okay, so if you look at it, if generally most customers will try to aim towards this one. Okay, aim towards this one so they can get maximum financing. The current maximum financing is actually 75. It is no longer 80%. In fact, I'm still hearing a lot of agents, customers still thinking, hey, I still can borrow 80%. That's not true. It is out of window already. Okay, it's totally gone. No more 80% financing. Maximum financing is up to 75%. Now, in order to get a 75% financing, you have to fulfill a few conditions. You don't have any outstanding housing loan. Your loan tenure will be not more than 30 years. At the end of loan tenure, you cannot be more than 65 years old. Okay, if you can fulfill these three conditions, yes, you can go for 75%. Now, what about the older folks? If the customer is a bit older and they need the loan tenure to be extended or whatsoever, or after loan tenure they're more than 65 years old, or the maximum will be 55% housing loan already. All right. Now, do take note, there's another point that most people forget is the cash equity, minimum cash component here, 5% versus 10%. Well, 5% difference is not much, but then again, it can actually make or break a deal. So do take note, don't just ask customers, why don't you accept loan tenure before finding out more from them, whether they can afford a 10% down payment or not. No matter how much CPF they have, they still have to come out 10% cash down payment if they are going for this extended loan tenure portion. All right. There are some customers who are here at 45% on the second housing loan, but we'll cover this more in the future. Okay, next. Okay, this shows your ABSD. Well, you will realize that for Singaporeans, there's a change all up by 5%. Citizens, no ABSD. PR is 5%. Foreigners are all 20%, and corporate is 25%. Now, the second purchase for Singaporeans is really up. Previously, it was actually 0, 7, and 10. All right, that's before they change it. Yeah, 0, 7, 10. But now they increase it by 5%. So for Singaporeans, first property, there's no ABSD. The second property is 12% now. The third property is 15%. So the total stamp duty they need to pay for purchase, including BSD, will be 12 plus 4 in this case, if it's more than 1 million purchase price. And this will be 15 plus 4. Again, if the purchase price is more than 1 million. Okay, for PR, okay, PR will be actually 15% plus 4. That will be 19% already on the second purchase. And again, some agents and customers think that if you're talking about second purchase, HDB is excluded. It is not. If you have a HDB right now, for example, Singaporeans have HDB right now, and they want to buy a property under construction or buy another unit be it for your own stay or be it for their for investment, they'll fall under this category. This is the second property. Okay, so just take note. There's also another group of customers. Singaporean husband, wife is a Malaysian PR, Singapore PR. Okay, where do they stand? If this is a second property, this will be a 15% ABSD. But if the wife is actually a Singapore citizen, okay, or rather if the wife is actually a Malaysian Singapore PR, this is your first property, then it will go under here because that is considered matrimonial home. Okay, so do take note of this one. But again, we will cover this more in details down the road. Next. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so TDSR, I believe most of you guys are aware of this one. Okay, what is TDSR? Basically, for TDSR, it cannot exceed 60%. It cannot exceed 60%. Okay, down here, right? So basically, your debt divided by your income, green color denotes income, red color denotes debt, cannot be more than 60%. Right? When we talk about debt obligations, we are talking about the actual unit that you're buying, the installment based on 3.5%, your existing loan if you have any, or if you have an investment property with another friend, okay, your share of the installment of the investment property. Okay, so you have to calculate the installment that's due to you, your credit card obligations. Do you have any secured revolving credit, or if you're a guarantor? All these are part and parcel of your debt. Now you divide this by your income, and this is where we are actually focusing on eligible financial assets. Okay, most customers fall under fixed and variable down here. If you are self-employed, we will just put you under here. Very few people are under fixed income, but most of us will have a bonus and stuff like that. You'll be under fixed and variable. Fixed income, how do we derive fixed income? We will look at your payslip, if you're employed, of course. Okay, we look at a payslip. If your payslip have a basic salary of say 5,000, we'll recognize the 5,000 as your basic income. Okay, but what about your bonuses, your transport allowances? You claim transport as and when you take a taxi and stuff like that. Those are actually considered under variable income, and we only recognize 70% of this. Okay, sorry, it's not me who is recognizing it, but it's actually all this actually under MAS guideline, so there's no way we can run from it as far as the banks are concerned. So the only leeway is actually eligible financial assets, which we'll touch more in detail in the next few slides. Okay, so in the previous slide, please. So if we are unable to manage the debt, the only way we can fix to try to qualify for a loan is really through your income, and that is from here. If this is insufficient, we'll work on this one. Okay, now you have to understand when it comes to debt, it's very difficult sometimes to ask customer, hey, can you pay up a car loan? We still got 80,000, 70,000. I mean, how on earth can customer come out so much cash overnight, especially after purchasing a house, putting a 5% down payment? So it's literally a bit, how should I say, a bit impossible, all right? But can we manage based on credit card? Yes, that's possible. Okay, there's ways to manage from credit card. If let's say customer have a lot of credit cards and a lot of lines being used, what we can do is try to do some window dressing, in the sense that, no, we ask customer, why don't you clear off these credit cards, so on and so forth. Okay, and once you clear it up, it may help you with your 60%, right? If all things fail, the next thing we can go for is actually your eligible financial assets. Okay, next. Now, for besides TDSR and TDSR, we will have to look into income weighted average age. All right. Now, TDSR is actually impacted by your income weighted average age, and this one also have implications on the loan tenure that customer can get. So this piece is actually very important. Okay, this piece is very important. If you look at the example down here, income of younger borrower is more than income of older borrower. Well, it's advantageous. Okay, it's advantageous. They use a weighted average, and the average is actually 36 years. Gone are the days where you use 50 plus 30 divided by 2. Those would be maybe about 15 years ago, we used this kind of method to calculate the average, simple average age. But nowadays, they look at your income weighted average age. So the younger the borrower is who's earning more, the more advantageous it is, because he can go for a longer loan tenure. Compared to this example, the next example where The younger one is earning less than the older one. Okay, you look at the income weighted average age is actually only 44. Now, if you want a maximum loan quantum, in this case, the maximum loan quantum is 75%, but loan tenure is only 29 years versus this one at 21 years. Now, if you look at it, it's only about 8 years difference. Is that a lot? In terms of calculation, in terms of TDSR, it do impact quite badly actually, because if you calculate the loan installment for 8 years difference, right, it can actually burst a deal easily because the installment is higher, right? So in this case, okay, just digress a little bit. In this case, in order to bring this loan tenure down, or rather this average age downwards, what you can do, what customer can do is actually bump up the income for the younger one. How do you bump up? Using your eligible financial assets, which we'll show later on. That will have an effect of actually reducing your IWAA, okay? Or the other way is actually removing B as a borrower. But then again, if you remove this guy out totally, he's based on his income, he may not be able to borrow much, right? So only way is actually bump up his income using eligible financial assets. Okay, next. That's main point for today. That is on your eligible financial assets, how you derive the income. Now, basically what we do for banks is actually using the financial assets. Either you recognize 100% or you recognize 30%. Okay, 100% means that you'll be pledging. Okay, or if you are not pledging, you're just only going to show, then it'll be 30%. Okay, then you multiply by either the, but again, whether is this a foreign currency or is this stocks and shares, that kind of stuff, then it really depends on how the banks will view it. All this, the net result is actually divided by 48. And that is the income derived. Okay, if you look at the next example, next please. Yeah. How we look at it is actually from here, the kind of financial assets that can be used. Deposits in Singapore. When we talk about deposits, we are talking about Sing dollars. By the way, these 7 items are actually not cooked up by any banks, or not actually not determined by any banks, but it's actually stipulated in MAS guideline on what are the financial assets that can be used to recognize, okay, by the banks. Okay, this is actually something that was actually given by a set of financial assets given by MAS for the banks to actually consider and use this as an income. Okay, it's not somebody who just suddenly feel like recognizing this and just take it out. Okay, now 7 items here, like deposits, we're talking about Sing dollars, foreign currencies, but whether they're in Singapore or not in Singapore, could be in UK or whatsoever. Unit trust, structured deposits, stocks and shares in Singapore, bonds in Singapore, and gold. 7 items. The more commonly used one are actually deposits here, foreign currencies, and stocks in Singapore. Okay, these 3 items are more commonly used. Now, coming to this deposits in Singapore, what we are talking about is actually Sing dollars deposit. Okay, Sing dollars deposit. Now, this Sing dollars deposit can be in their current account, it could be in the savings account, or it could be actually in their fixed deposit account. Well, you will know that some customers has amount stashed away just for rainy days. The die also won't break the fixed deposit. Over the day body, will they actually take out the money? It could be for the kids' education or whatsoever, just a standby pool of funds. Now, they can use this to recognize. Now, how do you recognize? If they are willing to put as fixed deposit, I'll recognize 100%. Okay, the bank will recognize 100%. Fixed deposit with the incumbent bank. That means you're applying a loan with, say, OCBC or DBS or Maybank for that matter. For fixed deposit, they'll recognize 100%. So what you need to do is actually using this, say 100,000, just divide by 48, and that's that. That is the income per month for that particular person. All right. Now, do take note. If let's say if he's going to put a fixed deposit, make sure it's actually in his own name. If it's going to be in joint name or whatsoever, then it will be recognized 50% only. That means, for example, if me and my wife put a fixed deposit and we are willing to pledge it, my wife is not borrow for the loan. So what happens? Although I put 100,000, me and my wife put 100,000, but they will only recognize 50,000 as mine. Okay, so the income for 50,000 is actually 50 divided by 48,000 plus only, about 1,100 thereabout, as part and parcel of my income. Okay, so just take note of this one. Now, if you're not willing to put fixed deposit, and this fixed deposit is actually for 4 years, and for 4 years, what do you mean by 4 years? That means the 4 years will start from first disbursement. Okay, you'll start from first disbursement. Loan drawdown today, make sure that everything is in today. It will be in the bank for 4 years. You cannot touch it for the next 4 years. 4 years later, the lien will be uplifted. While customer want to use it for other purposes after 4 years, they can do it. All right. There are ways to actually sidestep this one, but we'll talk about that later on. Now, if customers is not willing to show to place fixed deposit, what can they do? Show money. They may have, again, money stashed somewhere. If they're just willing to show, well, banks will generally ask them to show now, show today, at point of application one time. Before disbursement, they need to show that they have this money. Now, these funds do not need to be in the bank, in the bank that applying the loan for. It could be in DBS, UOB, Maybank, whatsoever, whichever bank. Okay, any banks will do. But before disbursement, you just have to show that you have this same money. Again, in any other banks, no harm done. Okay, so long as you can match that figure as what you have shown earlier, the bank will allow the disbursement to go through. Okay, so, but in such situation when you're just going to show, the bank is going to recognize 30% of it. That means if you're going to show $1 million, the bank will recognize 300,000, 30%, 300,000, divide by 48. Okay, divide by 48. And for 1 million, you're talking about 348, you're talking about 6,000 plus thereabout. Okay, versus for 1 million fixed deposit, it will be about 20,000. Okay, for fixed deposit lien. But if you're just going to show, it will reduce from 20,000 down to about 6,000 in terms of income. Okay, so if you use this formula, that will do the trick. All right, okay, next. Now, foreign currencies. When we talk about foreign currencies, we're talking about, it could be in Singapore, it can be overseas. US dollar, most banks will just recognize US dollars, sterling, Aussie dollars, euro, the major currencies. Okay, well, do they recognize Hong Kong dollars? Yes. Malaysian ringgit? Yes. Okay, but do they recognize Iraqi dinars? Chances they won't recognize because those are very exotic currencies. Okay, so just take note of currencies. I mean, not all currencies will be recognized by the banks. Not all currencies. So if you stick to this one, and most Singaporeans are just holding this kind, okay. If you want the more exotic currencies, it is better to actually check with the bank first. Does the bank recognize rupiah? Yes, the bank do recognize, but you have to highlight to the banks. Okay, Indian rupees may not. Okay, the rule of thumb for currencies is, do they have a secondary market for transactions? Is it a closed currency? For example, if it's a Myanmar's kyat, okay, Myanmar's dollar, Myanmar is a currency, most banks will not recognize because kyat is a controlled currency. It is not circulated outside of Myanmar. So to actually derive a value is going to be very, very tough. Okay, or Cuban dollars. If anyone have Cuban dollars or Cuban currency from Cuba, there's next to impossible to get a exchange rate for that. Okay, Russian rubles, possible. So do take note, currency do play a part. What kind of currency do play a part? Now, if let's say if these foreign currencies are not in Singapore, if it is overseas, yes, it can be recognized. Now, again, it depends from banks to banks. Okay, from one bank to another. Do they need to transfer to the bank? Let's say, for example, HSBC, with a lot of branch network across the world. Do they need, if the customer from HSBC wants to show funds, foreign currency funds, do they need to transfer it to the HSBC bank? Possible. Okay, they may require it. Okay, but it may not be required for, say, OCBC. Or in the first place, they don't have so many branches to speak of. That's one. Two, based on the credit policy, they don't need it. They don't need to be in the bank overseas, in their OCBC branch in, say, London or whatsoever. Okay, so this one really depends from bank to bank. All right, so for foreign currency, most of them are using is unpledged. Okay, for unpledged. If you're going to pledge, okay, if you're going to pledge, then they'll recognize 70% only. Okay, and if you want to pledge, it had to be in Singapore. You take a loan with Citibank, Singapore, and you want to pledge your US dollar. Okay, Citibank will require you to put the money in Citibank Singapore, and they'll hold a lien on it, but they'll recognize only 70%. Right? Now, if it's unpledged, then you'll recognize only 30% based on currency. Okay, so take note of this. Most customers will just show because transfer foreign currencies. I'm sure customers put foreign currencies overseas for valid reasons. Could be to finance their UK properties or your US property or even Aussie properties, Japanese property, whatever. Okay, or for their business purposes. But once out there and bring it back to Singapore, you may face resistance. So for foreign currencies, typically what we have seen so far is that they just show it and that's that. And when do you need to show? You just show this one time. Okay, a point of application, and that's that. Okay, just show that if you have 1 million Aussie dollars or 1 million US dollars in whichever currencies, in whichever banks or in whichever country, and that will do the trick. All right. Yeah, but do take note when you talk about such showing of funds. Some customers, in fact, especially for US dollars, some customers do have brokerage accounts with US brokerages. Okay, the reason why they have it down there is because to facilitate their stocks and shares financing. Now, for those, it is not possible to recognize. Why? Because it is actually a stockbroking account. It's actually similar to your Kihan account or UOB Kihan or your OCBC securities, that kind of account. Now, are these funds being raised by pledging of your shares? Based on the their brokerage account, is next to impossible. Okay, as far if let's say you pledge your shares to get to cash out, right? This money is actually encumbered. So these currencies had to be unencumbered in order to be recognized as a form of income, right? So if the money, if you want to show foreign currencies or even let alone, don't talk about foreign currencies, even Sing dollars, it had to be in your current account, saving accounts or fixed deposit account. It must be unencumbered. So please take note of this one. Unit trust in Singapore, not much nowadays. Not many people have that much of unit trust. I think I'll just skip this one. In fact, I'll skip this too. Okay, but to touch on briefly, unit trust. Well, most of us will know unit trust. You go to the bank and just buy X amount of unit trust and just leave it down there. Now, in order to recognize this unit trust as financial assets, it had to be listed, or rather, it had to be recognized. The banks will actually run through their system and see whether is this particular fund recognized as part and parcel of financial assets or not. Okay, there's some way to check. Okay, now whether you're going to pledge it or not, if you're going to pledge it, it's going to be tough. Okay, I have to tell you, it's going to be tough. Most people just use it to show, and that is through unpledging. Because if you want to pledge, that means you have to bring it over to the bank that you're applying the loan for. What if you buy the unit trust in, say, StanChart? Can you pledge it? No, you cannot, unless you take a loan in StanChart. Okay, there's no way to cross-pledge that kind of stuff, or cross, lien, that kind of stuff between banks. So in such situation, you just recognize as unpledged. But again, very unlikely. Structured deposits in Singapore. In the past, there are a lot. Okay, but recently you don't see a lot and very few structured deposits around. But the bank again will recognize if there's a structured deposits. In fact, most of structured deposits are done closer to 2010, around there, 2008 to 2010, thereabout. You seldom see such really. But again, well, recognition is 30% if it's unpledged, similar to unit trust. Now, stocks in Singapore. Yes, if you want to, this is also one very common financial assets that customers use. All you need to do is just produce your CDP account statements or your SGX statements, which they send to you monthly. Or if you log into SGX, they will give they'll be able to show you the current previous month's statements. The bank will just recognize the value there, and you'll just recognize 30%. Again, pledging, banks normally they won't accept this as pledging. Okay, if you want to pledge, well, you have to go to the securities company. Okay, so for stocks, mostly it's actually using this unpledging, and only show one time. Quite simple. What about stocks that's in US? Because very common nowadays, you see a lot of Singaporean buying shares, stocks and shares in overseas, like US buying Apple shares and stuff like that. Can this be recognized? Well, the short answer is not possible, because if you talk about such stocks, it should be held in their in US as CDP, the CDP equivalent. Now, if in order to prove that this is unencumbered, okay, that there's no pledging of this one to get a line, it's next to impossible for the local banks in Singapore to actually ascertain this fact. It's not possible. Okay, well, it may be possible if it's actually he's actually raising funds from a private banking, from his private bank, sorry. Yeah, but for locals, well, mostly we just recognize the Singapore shares. Okay, foreign shares I've done before, recognizing shares in Blackberries and UBS. Okay, but that customer is actually a private banking customer, and we have to go through a lot of documentation just to prove that this is actually unencumbered. So it's not simple, and most consumer banks will not take it in for such shares. All right. Now, bonds in Singapore. Now, very popular right now will be those Singapore savings bonds, or T-bills or treasury bills that's issued by MAS whatsoever, or even the Temasek. Well, there are such, yes, increasing there are more of such, and yes, this can actually be recognized. But again, pledging is going to be a headache. So again, for most of them, they're recognized as 30% unpledged. Now, for such bonds, normally it will be in ticket size about 250,000, depending, okay, or more. So in the market, there are T-bills of 250 or 500,000 per ticket. How to evidence this? You just have to show what you have in your CDP account. These are normally found in your CDP account or your SGX account. Now, for gold, we are talking about gold certificates. We're not talking about your physical gold that you buy from a goldsmith, all right? Because if you're going to give a bag of gold chains and gold earrings to the bank will throw it back to you and say, they won't know the value exactly. There's no way. For them to, in the first place, ascertain, is it a real gold or fake gold? Or the value and the weight of it. So the only way to go for using gold as a form of financial assets is to produce gold certificate. Currently, I know only one bank that have a gold certificate, and that's UOB Bullion. The rest, I don't see. Hardly come across such gold certificates. Okay, very rare. Okay, if you're going to show those sunshine and fire kind of, that one not recognized just to let you know, those are not recognized. I mean, sunshine already told him quite many years back, but there are still other gold trading companies around, but those are generally the banks will not accept those. Okay, well, the bank will accept those gold certificate issued by UOB or even Credit Suisse if they still do it. Right? Okay, so generally, like I've said, to summarize, for eligible financial assets, really focus on deposits in Singapore, foreign currencies, stocks. Okay, these three major items are the ones that are most commonly used. Okay, okay, let's go next slide. Yeah, so this is just to give you a, we'll just wrap up from here. This is just to give you an idea of how much loan this person can derive from a deposit. Okay, this column here, if you can see, follow my cursor here. This column is the amount that this customer pledged. Okay, this is for pledging. If you're going to pledge $100,000, 100,000, the income derived from this 100,000 is simply 100,000 divided by 48, and that will get you 2083. Okay, 2083. Now, if you talk about 2083, how much extra loan are you looking at? For 20 years loan, you're looking at 215,000 additional. For 30 years loan, you're looking at about 278,100 additional loan. And this is just by pledging 100,000 fixed deposit for 4 years with the bank. This will give you the additional loan of this amount, this stretch here. Now, if you go down here, 300,000, the income derived is about 6,250, and the loan amount you're looking at about is 646,000 to 835,000. It's quite substantial if you realize by pledging. Why? Because you are recognizing 100% of this divided by 48. This is amount. Okay, this is amount. This is on the assumption that number one, there are no debts. Okay, number two, their loan eligibility, the loan tenure is actually 20 or 25. I mean, there's no way I can count until so minute 21 years, 23 years, 24 years. So this is just for an illustration only. Okay, and do take note that is if they are willing to pledge it for the requisite 4 years. Now, one question that you guys will ask, that you guys may want to find out is, what if customer buy today, get a loan, fixed deposit, pledge and stuff like that? Say they pledge 400,000, okay, to get a loan. 2 years later, for whatever reasons, they need to sell the property. So, okay, fine, we just sell. What happened to the 400,000? Well, once you sell the property, is there a need for the fixed deposit to be there? There's no need to. You can actually just withdraw it and do it to your own, do whatever you like with that 400,000. Okay, so the moment the loan is redeemed, okay, the lien is gone. All right, so in an example, buy the house today, I don't have that kind of cash. I don't have that kind, I mean, my income is not enough to support. So I place a 400,000 fixed deposit, I'll lien with the bank. 6 months later, 9 months later, I strike Toto. Okay, I want to pay up the house. Okay, pay up in full. Sure, pay it out lah. If you pay up in full, there's no more loan already, right? If there's no more loan, is there a need for the lien? There's no need for a lien. Okay, so you don't have to fulfill the 4 years requirement. Third example, again, buy the house, put a fixed deposit to get my income, to bump up my income, so on and so forth. Now, 1 year later, and I realized, hey, I actually got promotion and my income is better. And at the same time, I realized, hey, this bank's interest rate is not too good. I want to refinance to another bank. Sure, refi. Now, when you refi to another bank, they look at your loan amount, loan outstanding. They calculate a TDSR. They look at your income. And based on income, you can support the loan. Do they need the 400,000 lien? They don't need to already. Okay, so once you refinance from bank A to bank B, depending on the credit criteria, depending on credit approval in bank B, you may or may not need to put a fixed deposit down there. Okay, but once you cross over to another bank, what happened to fixed deposit with bank A, the current bank? Well, again, you don't have to. You can actually withdraw it. The lien will be uplifted. You can do whatever you like with the money. Okay, so this is for pledging. Okay, so two things I just want to highlight to you guys, like the amount of income derived from the fixed deposit, which is here, and the additional loan that this person can get by pledging. All right. Next question. Next slide. This is unpledging. Okay, unpledging here. Now, if you look at it, previously we are looking 100,000 was 2,000 plus income, right? Now, unpledging, remember, I'm only recognizing 30% of this. Okay, 30% of this. So there'll be 30,000, 30% of this is about 30,000 divided by 48. That's how I get my $625. This is the income I derive if you are just going to show unpledged. Okay, just to show only. Okay, so the income derived is very much lesser, and the amount that you can borrow is only between 64,600 additional loan to maybe about 30 is about 83,500. Not that much. Okay, not that much. But well, this, although you think that it's not that much, but it can actually help a customer from buying a 2-room flat to a 3-room flat, condo. Okay, or you can, because of this showing of funds and stuff like that, you can actually get a 75% loan as compared to 70%. All right, so unpledging is something which is useful. Customers have the funds, but they don't want to use it for the house. In fact, even pledging also is they're not using for a house now. Okay, they're not using for a house. It's just pledging for 4 years or just showing only. But in this unpledging, this money, after showing, after securing the loan, after the loan is dispersed, what happened to the money? The money is still there. You can use it for whatever reasons you want. You can use it for buy another car or go for holidays, up to you. So long as you show the money at point of application, and you show the money before disbursement, that's that, you're done. Okay? Then the loan is dispersed and you can use the money for whatever things you want to use for. Okay, so just showing of funds is something which actually many a case we actually use this to just type across or just to boost that income so that they can get the loan that they require. Okay, now if you realize that you see 500,000 loan, 500,000, if you show 500,000, you can only get 323. Some customers say, hey, isn't it crazy? I show you 500,000, I only get 323,000 extra loan. For what? I might just use the 500,000 and just pay it down. My question to customer, or rather my answer to customer is this: sure, use the 500,000 pay off. That's okay, since you don't need 323, and you after paying off, you still got about 177,000. But you have to realize, the moment you use the 500,000 or use the money to actually pay for the house, can you take it back? You can, by remortgaging and getting a term loan. But is it that it's such an easy, it still comes back to your TDSR again. All right, so it really don't make sense. But of course, if you want to show so much, 1 million, 1.5 or 3 million, just to take a 1.5 million loan, then the question really, very big question, do you really need a loan? That's one. Two, where do you get all the money from? The bank will start questioning. Okay, so normally this showing of funds normally is stuck in between 100 to 400,000, or even maximum up to 500,000. Okay, so yeah, this is just to give you the additional loan to just push you across to get a bigger unit, or to get the loan that you require, 75% loan. Okay, so a lot of difference between pledging and pledging. Now, this calculation, that I'm pledging the 30%, okay, how you derive, like I've said, is recognizing 30% of this divided by 48. That's how you get this. This can be applied for stocks and shares. Say, for example, you have shares of about 200,000, okay? You're not going to pledge shares, right? You're going to recognize, you're going to, by way of unpledging, right? Show the CDP account to the bank, they recognize 1,250. Same calculation, 200,000 recognize 30%, which is about 60,000 divided by 48. This is the income derived from a 200,000 worth of portfolio. All right, bonds as well, foreign currencies as well, all can be used. You can use this table for all these purposes. Okay, next question, next slide. Yeah, we come to the end of it. We'll take questions from here. Okay, let's see. Question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kevin. Let's now look at the Q&A. I think we have some questions to answer. Yeah, I didn't want to disturb you halfway through just now. Yeah.
Foreign investors.
I think there's some questions asking about Chinese yuan. I think that was the previous slides, like whether Chinese yuan be recognized as a asset.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Chinese yuan, like I've mentioned, currencies recognized by banks. It depends from bank to bank, but Chinese yen, most banks are actually recognizing it. Now, you cannot dispute the fact that the Chinese economy is one of the bigger one in the world already, right? So currency likewise can be recognized. You just have to highlight to the banks and that's that. Yeah. Now, this question is on foreign investors with companies in Singapore buy property, bring in funds. Oh, it is buying properties. Well, maximum loan I got to say is about 20%, 25%. But if they're going to take a loan for that, is a little bit crazy lah. Okay, and their stamp duty is also pretty high. Bring in funds from overseas, they will go through the banks, and the banks will ask questions like where is the source of funds from, so on and so forth. Procedure-wise, just open an account and just do it. Okay, and do they need MAS approval? No, they don't. They don't need approval for that, because when you go through the bank will do their necessary KYC and AML already to ascertain the source of funds. Well, the reason why is just to prevent money laundering, all right? And if they can clear all these things, then there's nothing to stop them from actually buying a properties. Just take note of number one, stamp duty. And if they need to take a loan, most of the time they won't take loan, but if they really need to take a loan, then the loan quantum. All right? Do you bank recognize foreign bank bonds? I've done before, yes. But again, like I've said, it depends from bank to bank. Okay, if you talk about bank bonds, first of all, can you ascertain that the bond holdings, okay, or generally stock holdings the customer have or foreign shares, are these encumbered or unencumbered? In order to evidence this, it's going to be tough, because you have to understand those in Singapore, basically all in Singapore. I mean, how do we understand? How do we know? How do US operate? All right, or what kind of documentation that they can use to provide? Well, this generally can be recognized if customer is actually a private banking customer with proper bank statements. But like I said, it depends from bank to bank whether the banks want to recognize it or not. Okay, so bring it in and check with the bank, individual banks directly, right? And proceed from there. For example, I mean, I always use OC because I've been there for so many years, right? If customer is actually a BOS customer, Bank of Singapore customer, and they have portfolio statements from BOS to show that they have this ABN bonds. And I've done before actually, and they actually recognize it. But there's one additional step that BOS need to issue a letter, or the private bank need to issue a letter that these particular bonds are not encumbered. It's not being pledged for a line that customer is using. Okay, so long and short of it is, yes, it can be recognized, but it's subject to approval depending from banks' regulations, from how they recognize things.
Okay. Yeah, Kevin, there's one question now, which I thought of it since long time ago as well. Have you seen cases where banks have been sticky when it comes to showing funds, especially those from China, maybe the funds from China? So, I mean, just share some personal experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be very crude down here. When we talk about showing funds, right? What we call is roti prata, flip here, flip there, that kind of stuff. You know, what customers, some banks actually saw, and actually some of the cases have been highlighted. Some of the cases I'm personally aware. You use the fund show today, show already, they transfer the money to another bank. Okay, so they have two bank statements, one from bank A, one from bank B. Okay, One for 5 million renminbi, the other one for 3 million renminbi. So total showing of funds from these two banks is actually 538 million. But in actual fact, customer only got 5 million only, that's that. Yes, so to answer your question, yes, the banks are very particular with it. They flip, they double use a double count. Some customers double count. The other aspect of it, especially for overseas one, is statements, bank statements. There are also cases that have been flagged up that such statements are actually fake, is being doctored, and that is very problematic. It's actually considered as a fraud already. If the bank choose to take action, they can actually. So yes, the banks are very sticky about bank statements, especially overseas bank statements. Local bank statements, I think most banks are still okay. But foreign bank statements, because of the unfamiliarity of it, they are a little bit more cautious. Yeah.
I don't know if this answer to your question. That's the person who brought out the questions. Yeah. Okay. And some other questions I'm looking at now is like, this is also a very good question. How about those investment products that through insurance company? Can I go for unpledging? Okay. Before I ask the question, right? I think I also want to say one thing to all of you in front of the screen now, that just now the MAS table that Kelvin showed, right? Something stated very clearly is internal valuation by the banks. So which means some of it, if you want to ask Kelvin or ask anybody, we can give you any answer, but as a disclaimer, what we say might not be tapake lah, you get me, because at the end of the day, the money doesn't come from Kelvin, it's come from the banks. So the banks, their internal evaluation of it. So same question to one of them was saying about how they evaluate physical gold. Same thing. Kelvin, you want to say something about it? Evaluate physical gold.
Physical gold. Gold is a very interesting topic. Sorry, I did not see the question until I opened the Q&A, then I realized there's a Q&A.
Yeah, because there's a Q&A, there's a chat.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I was focused at the chat, the thing. Now, physical gold, like there's a case which I've done before. This customer, I mean, seriously, he's a joker, he's a funny guy. A lot of gold, really a lot of gold. He took photo. That was during the early days of TDSR and stuff like that. He took photo, got this amount of gold, no? I mean, can use or not? I scratched my head. In the first place, the bank is not a pawn shop. The bank is not a goldsmith. In the first place, the gold don't know where real or bluff one. I mean, I'm joking, I tell him, seriously, I mean, there's no way the bank will be able to recognize it. What the bank can recognize is really paper gold. Okay, paper gold. There's only one, like I said, there's only one bank I remember that have paper gold, UOB Bullion. They have this gold deposit certificate. Okay, you can use that one. How do you value physical gold? What we look at is based on the certificate, gold certificate. Normally there's a weight on it, and then we multiply based on the current gold price. Silver and other precious metals, not that I've seen in NA's guide, only gold so far. Okay, so for physical gold, when you talk about physical gold, I'm assuming you're talking about the paper gold. Physical gold that you actually deposit and leave it in, say, UOB bullion. Okay, but physical gold by itself, no way lah. Okay, there's no way that banks will take it in. A buyer who have 4-room HDB and want to buy 5-room DBS loan.
Okay, I think Kevin, for that question, right, I think we take it privately.
Okay.
For the person who asked the question, do you mind to just type on your contact number so later on we will get Kevin to let you know privately, because it's not related to the topic today lah. Yeah.
Okay. Lawyer don't need to physical gold, Chinese yuan. Bitcoin cannot. Bitcoin cannot. Again, Bitcoin no way. So far, the authenticity of this Bitcoin is in the first place being questioned. Also, don't know real bluff one. You know, that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a bit problematic for bank to actually ascertain the value, or whether is it. It's not even the what lah. So that one a bit tough.
And then one of the question I think you answered already, for pledge fund for 4 years can't touch at all. There's a question by one of them. If subsequently need to use it for monthly mortgage, is it possible? Okay, I think I think you answered it, but boils down to if I pledge, yes, now I pledge $100,000 in the bank. Pledge. So 2 years later, I feel that, hey, I need the money. Is there any way I can wiggle my way out? Things like that, other than selling my property away.
Okay. Hopefully you need the money, not because you lost a job and stuff like that, at least you still have proper job and stuff. There's one way, that is actually by way of refinancing out. Because remember, the moment you refinance out or you change bank, okay, the new bank will look at you as a new customer. And do remember, when you talk about refinancing currently, there's a lot of exemptions. There are a lot of exemptions. So do you need the pledge funds to actually support your loan? You may not know. You may not need it. So once you go to a new bank, let's say, like I mentioned previously, your income is, in order to actually finance over, you need an income of, let's say, $5,000. Okay, but your income is only about $4,000 now. Can you refi over? It is possible because of all the TDSI exemptions for refinancing. So once you go to the other bank, and if they're crediting that based on your current income, based on your credit conduct, they can take over a loan. You just sign on and move along. The fixed deposit in the current bank, must it still be there for the next 4 years? No need to. Because why? The purpose of the fixed deposit is because of loan. Now the loan is gone. What's the purpose of fixed deposit then? No purpose really. If there's no purpose, well, you can remove it and just do what you want to do with it. All right. Pledge, unpledge, magic number 48. 48. This magic number 48 is derived. You got to ask MAS. Must be from scholars lah. But I believe they actually did some studies in terms of redemption of loans and stuff. I really believe that it's actually from redemption of loans, that customers redeem the loan for about 4 years down the road, whether be it by selling or refinancing or paying up in full. So that's how they got this 48. And also, if customer is willing, I mean, there's another thinking is that if customer is willing to park the money for next 48 months, that means they are actually quite liquid in terms of cash. Okay, but there's no specific definition or reason why this is 48, other than the fact that it's actually stipulated by MAS. Okay, bank recognized insurance investment products. Asked many times, bang my head against the wall with them many times, but answer is no, cannot. Much as we want to, but cannot. Okay, showing of funds, China, yes, we've talked about it. Legend can't touch it. Okay, we touched it. Vanessa, your question is answered, right? 4 years can't touch. Okay, but coming to a question, subsequently used to pay for monthly mortgage. No, you can't. Okay, you cannot. Because this one, 4 years means 4 years. You can't even use it. Well, you want to use it for monthly, that is really in default and all those things. Then it's a totally different story altogether already. Okay, but use it to pay for monthly, no, it's not. It should be over and above. Okay? People go.
All right. I think we just answered the last 2 more questions. I think I'm holding on you for too long.
Oh, okay. Overseas cannot be pledged. Safe to take a look for foreign bank. Okay. Okay. This one, JB1 cannot. Most banks will not be taking seriously. It's going to be very problematic for property JB. Minimum loan amount for repricing between 100 to 200,000, but different bank, different criteria. Safe to take a loan from foreign bank because of them changing rate and not holding on to a more transparent system help. Well, long and short of it is local banks are deemed to be a bit more stable, okay, as compared to foreign banks. Foreign banks do tend to up their rates at a moment's notice because of funding issues. But if it's a fixed rate, it's fixed rate. Banks normally will not change it. Okay, if it's stipulated in the letter of offer that the markup is this amount or that amount, most banks will not change it. I think, Lester, you're talking about it with reference to what happened with CIMB. In fact, what happened with CIMB a few months ago happened to Citibank almost 10 years ago or more. Okay, they upped the spread. Okay, they upped the spread for Citibank, for CIMB, they upped the minimum rates kind of stuff. But in the end, after so much hoo-ha in the public, they decided not to proceed with it. All right, so say for bank to take a loan, I think it's still okay. I think it's okay. Well, take a loan to foreign banks ready. If you're not happy, just refinance to another bank.
Sorry, Kevin. Because the rest of participants will not be able to see the question posted by other people.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So maybe previously you were just answering to this question that is it safe for buyer to take a loan from foreign banks because of them changing rates? So now holding on to a more transparent system held by local banks.
Yeah.
As in comparison. So that means just not one of you actually asked a question of whether taking loan from foreign banks safe, things like that. So Kevin was answering to it.
Yeah. Just now also answering in regards to the there's a question on what is the minimum loan amount for repricing. This one is depending on bank. You have to check the bank itself. Okay, yeah. Some banks, but normally it's between 100 to 200,000, depending from bank to bank. The last question I see is fully paid property in JB pledgeable? In Singapore, not possible. Okay, short answer, in Singapore, not possible. You may have to check with Malaysian banks across the border.
Yeah. Okay, and I think that's about it. I think the key thing is just not the slides I'm showing on the eligible financial assets, right? That is actually from MS website, right? So that means for some of you who would like to find out a bit more, right, you can always go to MS website to see what is the financial assets that's eligible for pledging and unpledging. Yeah.
You
and then of course,
may have to go into MAS web, www.mas.gov.sg. Under the binoculars to search, right, you either type 632 or 645, or you just type eligible financial assets. That will bring you to that page. It should be page 22, 24 of that particular circular.
Yeah.
Okay. But, they may have quite a bit of versions.
Yeah, but overall here, what I'm trying to do, right, is as a salesperson, we don't need to know the details. Okay, but roughly that seven category of assets, right, it's just for you to have an idea. So that means when you're talking to the clients, okay, you can hint to them that, hey, this can be used to increase your income stream. Okay, but details, okay, as you can see on the previous slides, is banks have their internal criteria for evaluation. You always have to go to the banks because at the end of the day, it's the bank that give lend out the money. Am I right to say that, Kelvin?
Yes, it depends on bank to bank, on the criteria. Well, like that is just guideline given by MAS lah. Okay, that's a guideline. But whether the bank choose to use this guideline or not is up to them. Okay, and yeah, it is. There's no hard and fast rule. MAS just give a guideline. You want to use it, you use it. You don't use it, you don't use it. Well, honestly, when this eligible financial assets was out back in 2012, most banks never bother about it. Okay, most banks only focus on the Sing dollars portion, fixed deposit, pledge and unpledged. Okay, it's after a lot of pushing, nudging. That was during the time when I was in the bank. That they finally say, okay, fine, we can recognize foreign income, foreign deposits, stocks and shares, bonds. If not, the banks may not actually recognize. So it's just a guideline given to the bank. But whether the bank want to practice it or not is a different issue altogether. Yeah. But generally, most banks are actually using it now.
All right, Kevin, I think time control a bit, sorry. Because I think thank you so much for sharing a lot of inside story from your personal experience working in the bank in the past 19 years and then now as a mortgage specialist. So I'd like to set you up. Can I leave your contact number here? So if anyone who have any issue or your email address or something to contact you. We want to type in the chat group to just put it up so that if there's any other question, not related even to AUM financing, our main topic today, you can also approach Kelvin, and or you can just email into learning@unc.com so that we will know what is the common issues that our salesperson are facing nowadays, and then we will come up another session for you specifically to answer your question. I mean, majority of you. All right. So Kevin, don't mind.
Okay, can will do.
Thank you.
Okay, I put inside the webinar chat, right?
Yeah, I can type in for you as well.
Yeah, put ready.
Okay, great. Okay, so for those people who are watching it now, I know that some of you are still having questions. The questions are still coming in, but because it's more than the time is too long already. And Kelvin, I believe you have a meeting after this.
Yeah.
So we will not hold Kelvin back. Okay, but we'll always invite him back again in future. Okay, so the contact number is 90666134. It's inside the chat box, not the Q&A, the chat box Kelvin had just sent to everybody. And then the email is kelvinlee@oneapex.com.sg, oneapex.com.sg. Okay, don't worry. If they say you don't catch it, you can just contact me. I will be able to share with you. Don't worry. I mean, you all know you know me, right? My name is Vincent. I'm from RNC. Yeah. So anything, you just email to learningorange.com your questions pertaining to today's topic. Okay, then we will be able to share with you. They say they don't see it, not in the chat. It is in the chat, but they say not in the chat. Oh, okay, I get what you mean.
To everybody. Okay.
No, you didn't send. You send to panelists. You didn't send to attendees. Okay, hold on, guys. I'll just retype again. I know, cannot see. Yes. I'm going to type it out again. 90666134. Kelvin Lee.
I'm on it.
Okay, now you can see his contact number, and now I'm going to type in your email.
I typed already.
You type already? Okay, good.
Yeah.
To all attendees as well.
All panelists and attendees.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelvin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, helpful. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, anything, just email or call and should be all right. Just let me know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelvin. And thanks for everybody who is watching it today. And then we will share again. There will be another sharing. But anyway, what we are sharing today, right? What Kelvin is sharing today, right? It will be put onto our slides and video in our agent app. So there are some details that you didn't catch it, right? Don't worry, you just revise the video again. Okay, so thank you everybody. Thank you very much. Today is Friday. Good Friday to everybody.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.